what I think is interesting about this argument is that we do have like a clear period of time where, hey, women were staying at home, whatever. Then when men went out to war, they went towards these jobs, and when the men came back, they didn't want to leave. So to me, to be saying like, oh no, like, they're all in general happier at home. Well, we had a clear period of time where women fought expressly against that.
No, we did, and then we, as I mentioned earlier, we measured against it, and we measured how it turned out, and all but one of the surveys showed that the women became less happy. So I'm totally willing to take these surveys with a grain of salt, but in as much as we can measure them, they undercut your argument.
No. If there was a survey that showed that men are happier just sitting on their ass all day on like some island just watching TV,
they are in the short term.
Do you think that they should strive towards that?
No, because they wouldn't be happier in the long term, because happiness is an objective matter. It's not purely subjective. So like men, though, truly, this is why Genesis 3 is written the way that it is. Men do not want to lord over women. They don't want to dominate women. They don't want to be knuckle draggers. You know what men want to do? They want to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and be left alone. That's what men, that's the broken, dark part.
I'm just saying, I think everyone would be happier in the short term sitting at home on a couch, which is why I think those studies that you're referring to of self-reported happiness refers to that type and not eudaimonia.
I think women would be happier in the short term playing the girl boss and having all sorts of, color-coded notebooks and pens and stuff, but they would find that they don't actually like it. They don't really want to work at the law firm. They don't really want to be in the widget factory. They would rather do something that is more naturally feminine.
I think it's also interesting how you're ascribing these surveys of like self-reported happiness going lower as a result of being in the workplace. When I wonder if you start
and other things.
Exactly. I wonder if when you start looking down into the specific reasons why a person might report greater amounts of unhappiness, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons that could range, right? So for example,
they're all feminists though.
higher, like, let's say, experiencing like some sort of like sexual harassment in the workplace, for example, which in that case, it's not necessarily, they're less happy doing work. They're just less happy experiencing sexual harassment, for example.
I'm not saying it never happens, because obviously, you hear some Me Too stories, Matt Lauer, whatever, Vince McMahon. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but these days the law and the culture are so radically opposed to men and in favor of women in the situation. The frequency of sexual harassment in the workplace is basically zero.
Can you give me an example? And the reason why I'm asking for an example specifically is because I actually, as a feminist, think one of the failures of the Me Too movement was not being able to legislate a lot of the grievances put into place. So even if like a company is not supposed to like sexually harass, or you're not supposed to sexually harass your subordinate, whatever, most of these cases will never be criminal. They'll just be at most civil, maybe, if they're even prosecuted.
Sure, but what are we talking about? We're talking about an errant comment, or we're talking about, I like your shirt today, Sally, or something? Or are we talking about, a rape or something?
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking you is, like, what specific laws have been put to place that heavily favor women against men?
Well, there are already
unfairly.
laws. There are laws against sexual assault, right? And there are but the HR practices that have been put into place throughout corporate America to totally favor women. If a woman comes in and says, let's say a man and a woman in an office had a consensual affair. The minute that woman reports it, that guy is gone. That guy is gone at every major company in America. Let's say that a man just kind of seems a little creepy or makes a woman feel uncomfortable because he compliments her glasses that day or something. That guy is very likely going to be gone. The corporate America has so taken the feminist position to heart that men don't even want to speak to women in the workplace. It's one of the reasons that companies often don't want to hire women, is they recognize that their legal liability goes through the roof.
That seems like an exaggeration. Do you actually think that if a guy complimented a girl's glasses,
I'm not saying she would report it, because people are usually nice and men and women generally like each other.
But you think that's how much the institutions have overcorrected, that a man will get fired for just complimenting a woman innocuously and unsexually?
I think he very easily could be punished for that, yeah. Maybe not outright fired, but he would face professional
it'd be cool to see stories of that. I haven't seen anything anywhere close, and I feel like
I don't know.
Any type of conservative media outlet would like jump on that hard.
All I've got are anecdotes here. But no, I don't think the conservative media would, because I'm not pro-sexual harassment.
Also, to go back to happiness and feminism and girl bosses and females in the workspace, another reason that women could have lower reported happiness is because they're still shoring up on most of the household duties, despite now also taking up, they're doing still a lion's share of domestic work.
They don't get married anyway, so they don't even have households.
That's not true. They're still cohabitating. They're still,
even within
marriage.
I agree. Cohabitation makes women unhappy too. Yeah.
I mean, even within marriage now, you don't think there's a ton of marriages in which women are also working and then also shoring up a lion's share of the household duties, and that's why they're unhappy, because now they're being burdened in two directions.
Yeah, sure. But so what's the solution to that?
I think
the solution.
I think the
normal
solution is men showing up more on domestic duties, but they won't because of freaking tradcons and neocons who are telling them that it's gay and beta if they do these certain tasks.
It is gay and beta most of the time. I agree.
And I also think that's why men are suffering. So, for instance, like the unemployment rate of men returning back to the workforce is very, very high right now, and that's because everything meninist, like tradcons and neocons. So, for instance,
what do you mean
like
by neo? You mean like the
him.
sort of
Neocons.
warmongering?
What?
You're a neocon?
I'm
you
not
want
a
to go invade
politics
Libya
guy.
or something? What does that mean?
I'm not the politics guy. Okay.
No one can pin
Neocon. I
down
think
Brian.
we're using neocon in a way I'm not familiar with.
Well,
I'm
I'm just
seeing
saying-
John Rumsfeld next to me. Okay.
a lot of just meninists are actually hurting men, and I think they're also
Meninist,
hurting
that's a good
women.
phrase.
They're also hurting women because, like I said, women are doing worse mentally because they're showing up on domestic duties, and men won't take up these responsibilities because it's seen as gay and beta. And we're, you know what I mean? You guys are.
But the solution is an easy solution.
Wait, can I finish?
Sure.
Meninists are kind of pushing for this like revanchist return to just like older times, and even though you claim you're not trying to turn the clock back, a lot of the solutions that meninists are advocating for just won't help men because the burgeoning sectors right now are overly feminized. It's stuff like nursing, childcare, hospitality, and these industries are actually reaching out to men and they're trying to recruit them, but a lot of men will turn them down, and instead they're sitting on their ass. They're addicted to opiates. Like over half of unemployed men are addicted to some sort of painkiller. They're playing video games all day. They're jacking off to porn, which is, yes, one problem, but there's so many others.
Yeah.
And feminism is was telling men, like, you know what I mean, leave your toxic masculinity behind, join a nursing career, join a teaching career, but they won't do it because of tradcons and neocons telling them that they're gay and beta if they do these kind of like unwarrior-like positions.
I don't
Wait,
know. I
there's-
don't. Am
is
I
this
in a
like-
warrior-like position?
What's that movie with De Niro and Ben Stiller? Meet the Parents,
Yeah.
where he's the male nurse.
Yeah.
Do you agree with
I don't think that.
Richard
You don't
Reeves'
think what?
take
You don't
on
think
like
what?
I don't
men
think
should be the way we
track-
pushed women to join STEM, we should be pushing men to join HEAL, which is health, education, administrative literacy jobs. Like, do you think that there should be a push, like instead of saying men do this job and women do this job? Like, I don't think tradcons do as much as like red pill. I'm not pointing to you say you're red pillar, but like that men, your role is to be an ATM machine and to make money and like to be strong and fight. And if you don't do that, then you're not a man. Like, you're not as much of a man if you're a teacher. Do you agree with that?
No, I've
Okay.
had wonderful male teachers. You know,
Okay.
I don't really care to push people to any particular field or other.
Okay.
I think I'm no libertarian, but I think the market will generally sort that out, and I think interference in that regard is usually does more harm than good. But teaching is a very manly thing, actually. You know, I mean, it's you're imparting wisdom and knowledge, and you're shaping a young mind. It's a very manly field.
I agree, but you said women are better at domestic tasks than men are, and
Yeah, being a
lot of
teacher or a
these-
nurse is not a domestic task. It can occur inside the home and frequently does.
And
but-
why does it seem like why do people
Domestic means within the home,
No,
so
but why do
anything
people see
outside.
it as feminine? Like people see nurses and teachers as feminine, like a
'Cause they're
third
very
grade male
'cause they're very
teacher.
nurturing.
Yeah, so is that
why.
something that you think is better suited for women?
Yeah, I think women tend to be more nurturing than men.
But
So
that's
they're-
because of their experience in the domestic life. That's why they're now more
I think it's
congruent
in
with
their
these
nature.
burgeoning industries such as nursing, teaching, childcare, hospitality, food preparation. It's because of what they're being trained to do at the home. So when tradcons say that like men should focus on public life while women should focus on these more domestic errands, they're actually hurting men in the long run because now men aren't equipped to do these burgeoning industries.
No,
to work in them.
I think also, don't forget, life isn't just set and static all the time. A woman could say go to school and then work a job. I don't know. She teaches for a few years and then she gets married and she wants to leave teaching, or she's a nurse for a few years, or what. We don't just like sign up like serfs for the rest of our lives. We're just doing one task. But I do think that it's not just a matter of social construction. I think women are more nurturing, and so are nurses more likely to be women? You know it. Are elementary school teachers more likely to be women? Yes. There are some men, but very few.
that's interesting to say, because when we look historically, like the reason why women tended to take those roles is because those were the only roles that society would let them take. It was not
So says you.
necessarily-
I don't really buy that.
No, we can like look
There's
at the laws
a
right
study,
now.
the last name was Wu on the researcher, where like if right now we have like a certain percentage of women in STEM and a certain percentage of men in like HEAL types of jobs. If people were actually choosing based on their interests, you would still get more. You're right, but it would be like 30% men.
But people are often deluded by their interests, and people have a view of what they will excel at and what they're inclined to do that is often out of step with reality, and virtually no
and
one-
probably influenced by what society tells them they'll be good at.
Totally.
Which is that
But
men should
ironically,
be teachers.
I think we all concluded earlier that today it's the liberal feminist view that dominates all the major institutions, right? Didn't we? Yale,
No,
and all
I
the rest.
think,
So when
I
men,
thought that's what we said
when men
earlier.
cite not wanting to join nursing and teaching as part of the reason is because they see it as very feminine. You think liberal feminism is the culprit and not meninism or neocon/tradcon?
It's the neocon thing keeps shaking me because neocons refer to like Irving Kristol and Norman Podhoretz.
Okay, we'll just say
and,
conservative. Do you think when men say that they don't want to join nursing and teaching, because the nursing programs and teaching programs have like put out, research of why men won't join these industries despite them reaching out, and one of the biggest reasons is because they feel like it's overly feminine. Do you think that's due to liberal feminism or due to conservatism, that fear?
No, I think it's just natural. I think it's just a natural thing about men. They are not inclined toward the those more nurturing professions.
But the alternative is they're sitting at
mentioned
home
was the
unemployed
opposite.
right now. They're
Yeah,
reaching
they-
out to unemployed men. It's not men in STEM. They're reaching out to men who are disaffected right now, and they
maybe-
won't do it still because it's seen as gay.
Yeah, I think the men should work, but they should maybe do things that they're more inclined to do. I don't think we need to conscript men to go become nurses wearing frilly little dresses.
And a
But they're
critique
not
of
more
liberal
inclined to do
feminism.
because, manual labor jobs are basically getting eradicated, and a lot of these men,
But,
not
yeah.
to be mean, aren't
By-
necessarily smart enough to go into STEM. So I think other industries might be better for
No,
them,
look,
but
there
they
are all
won't
sorts
do
of
it. They'd
social
rather
problems.
sit at home to preserve their masculinity, and I think conservatism is to blame for that.
Part of no, I think mass migration is actually to blame for the problem of the working classes not having as much employment as they used to, which is something that conservatives generally haven't pushed. I think there are all sorts of political reasons that happens, but I don't think that any amount of feminist indoctrination and brainwashing is going to convince a man that he really wants to do an extremely feminine role.
It's not about really wants to do. That's an
Just,
entitlement.
yeah,
It's
look,
not
not
just
gay
go
for
work.
doing. That's a different
I think-
thing.
I think
like,
men-
and a
yeah,
critique
men ought
of
to
liberal
work rather than
feminism
not
is that
work.
liberal feminism has done a lot to push up women, but it has left, I think, men behind in a lot of
Sure.
ways, and this is one of those
Also,
ways.
we're painting with way too broad a brush. I mean, a man can be a nurse, and there are aspects of the nursing profession that can be perfectly masculine. And same goes with teaching. But if we want to zoom it out even further and say, well, these loser men who are all addicted to opiates and they're just like, sitting around with porn, these guys need to get off their behinds and take the only job available to them, which is to put on a frilly dress and be a girl. I think that's a ridiculous, false dichotomy.
But why do you see that as putting on a frilly dress to go into like nursing and hospitality?
Because you're using that example.
You're presupposing that it's feminine and gay. You're doing the thing.
It is more feminine, yeah.
It's frilly dressy to go into nursing. That's
They
what
wear
you're, that's
frilly
what you're
dresses.
telling
At
your
least they
audience
used to.
here. You're telling them that they're preserving their masculinity to sit at home, and half of them being addicted to painkillers.
I'm telling you, I think it's a false dichotomy. And I think the reason that you're picking those fields, which are...
Those are the most burgeoning 15 sectors right now. A lot of other things are getting wiped out.
Nursing is like a good
What are
field
the
to
other?
go into.
What are the other 15? What are the other 13?
Janitoring, nursing,
Okay, janitoring's
teaching,
not
childcare,
not traditionally
hospitality,
considered-
food
hospitality is not
preparation.
food preparation. That's not true.
So which ones are frilly? Just outline
Let's
it
make
for
it
me.
a graph.
Which
and
ones are
put them
gay?
in the
So-
food.
spectrum of-
like Emerald Lagasse, right?
Which
who's
one's
in food-
most dick
Yeah,
sucky?
Emerald Lagasse is not. That's not too frilly. If you're a big man chef, you just like bam throwing. That can
Don't
be
you
pretty
feel like you're
masculine.
hurting men with this
Being
kind
a
of rhetoric
janitor.
of being like, you need to add so much machismo to these professions? Be like, okay,
I'm
maybe
not
you should
adding
do this
anything.
type
I'm
of
not
job.
adding
See if it's
anything.
frilly.
I'm
Yeah, you are.
observing reality and articulating my perception. The reason you chose nursing is because you know that it's a generally
I said
a more
nursing,
feminine field.
teaching, childcare, food
Right.
prep.
Well, there are plenty of male teachers. They tend to be more at the little bit more at the middle school level, then more at the high school level, then many more at the college level. That's true. Where those teaching jobs require much less nurturing and a lot more just reciting facts and logic.
So, okay, I just want to ask, do you think it's better for a guy to sit at home and be unemployed than go into nursing? Like,
No,
do you
I
think
think
he's doing
it's
something
better.
wrong?
I think it's better to work than not to work, as long as the work is not
But
intrinsically
ideally,
immoral.
they shouldn't pursue nursing because it's gay.
They can pursue whatever they like to pursue, but you're asking me why are these men not inclined to pursue careers that
calling
they
it
consider
frilly,
feminine?
yeah.
Because they're men, and because the differences between men and women are natural, and they're not contingent on what you say, and they're not contingent on what I say.
Okay, my question is that, again, if these things are so natural, and we can search it up right now if you don't believe me, but why have there been laws in place preventing women from working in fields that are not nursing or teaching historically? If this is a biological imperative, there would be no
I'd be
need for
curious
these
to know-
laws.
I'd be curious to know which laws. I'm not disputing that women have been encouraged to stay home, and that that socially that's changed because of the Second World War or because of the advent of the sexual revolution and contraception and all of these other things. That's certainly true. But I think that for a long time, we recognized that the family is the building block of society. And so we wanted to encourage family formation and family stability. And part of family formation and family stability is someone being able to raise the children, someone being able to take care of the home while the other partner was outside of the home. And you might say, well, why can't the man stay home with the kids and why can't the woman go to work? Yeah, it can happen. They're just generally not inclined to do that because women are the ones who have the babies and who are much sweeter with the babies and who are much more responsive to the baby's needs. And men are the ones who generally are a little bit more outgoing and a little bit more publicly
You've
oriented.
been very nurturing to Kiki.
I have. I even gave her one of my precious Mayflower cigars, available at mayflowercigars.com, but you have to be 21 years old or older.